right-wing, conservative, usually religious, Trump-loving people. That's why 3 out of 4 mass shootings and terrorism attacks are by white supremacists. Nothing upholds, justifies, and creates entitlement among white supremacists like the Bible. Saving children. The majority of predators. At least 10 megachurch pastors have been arrested that know or have spiritually assisted Trump. It's all about preying on the kids while acting like we're saving them. And I'm thinking of Robert Morris, that scumbag. You can't, at least in my opinion, from what I've been told, the people who scream the loudest about the sanctity of marriage, the perfection of the nuclear family, and saving the kids are probably touching your kids. And I don't mean in the I like you kind of way, the illegal kind. There's a religious agenda. You go to any red state, especially Oklahoma, Louisiana, Mississippi, South Dakota, Florida, Texas, you name it. They have an agenda to put the Bible everywhere. The 10 Commandments are not the first nor the most famous law giving in any historical record. There are many other historical laws and system of laws that existed even before Abraham was alive. And this is way before Moses. There are no laws in the 10 Commandments that tell people not to harm kids or not to harm innocent, vulnerable women. The 10 Commandments have always been about preserving man's rights, man's breeding rights, and man's access to being in charge. The 10 Commandments are not about loving people. It's about owning what you own, taking advantage of what you own, taking other people's things outside of your race, and maintaining that women are second class. There is nowhere in the 10 Commandments that supports that women are equal. Even in their judiciary system, women's voices were half as credible as men. And the Bible, the 10 Commandments, is not a great way to view morality. Personally, I don't even like people's morality unless it's objective, and it's hard to be objective when you're religious. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying there's going to be a lot of biases. And I have bias. Everyone has bias. The difference between bias and not having bias is which voice do you listen to internally. I have internalized homophobia from growing up in white nationalism. I still hear that voice that says that gay people are sinners. The difference is I don't listen to it. I choose to support and protect gay people. There's a difference. Being alive, we were put on this planet because our parents chose to. We can rise above the stereotype of our gender, our race, and our generation. But yeah, religious people have an agenda. And they're always accusing secular people like atheists of having an agenda. No, our agenda is just to make sure everyone has an equal voice. That one religion doesn't predominantly control everything else. We defend American rights, separation of church and state, reproduction and abortion rights. They're not a privilege, they're rights. Heteronormative lifestyle and marriage. I had to deal with the idea that the family and the groups I grew up with, they worship marriage and the nuclear family. They believe that that's the only viable, valid way to live your life. And I reject that. You don't have to be married. You don't have to have kids. You can be, and it's not a choice, but if you want to continue being aromantic, asexual, bisexual, you can be whatever you want as long as you live with integrity. You don't lie about who you are. And if you can, Be out in public the way you really are. I'm not saying everyone can have that choice, depending where you live and your safety. But if you can, have integrity. If you don't want to be married, then own it. We need to reject the idea that there's only one suitable way to live. One size does not fit all. And we should not even want anything to do with that. The desire and the expectation that all women want kids or can even have the ability to have kids, because 1 out of 3 couples struggle with infertility. The idea that people don't want kids, I assume people don't want kids until they tell me. That's my default setting. I never expect people are going to get married, be monogamous, heterosexual, have kids, have a white picket fence. I just reject the whole idea. If that's the way you want to go, you just better make sure that's what will really make you happy. Because it's pretty hard to change your life once you jump all in. And the idea where I grew up, that heterosexuality is the only viable way to live, is what creates homophobia, queerphobia, and hate crimes. It just does. You cannot teach people for 80 years that there's one way to live and that these people are sinners, evil, and deserving of God's wrath, and not create an environment that makes violence possible. And where there is conservative values, hate crimes go up. It's just a fact. And what about pro-life and anti-abortion? Believe whatever you want. Just stop taking away people's rights. And everyone has a right to choose to have a child and remain pregnant. The issue is when you don't allow other people to make that choice. When you take away any chance of having a choice, this is wrong. And the idea that women shouldn't have abortions, if you want to believe that, and you decide, you know what, I'm not going to have an abortion because I want to have a child, that's fine. Taking away someone else's right and villainizing their desire to make that choice is wrong. Nobody has a right to take away someone's right to live, to enjoy their life, to choose how they use their body. Because once you have a child, your body changes forever. And if you want to believe life begins at conception, you can believe whatever you want. It's morally wrong to take away people's choices. If somebody can't take your organs after death without a document of it's okay, you can't legally take someone's bones, their muscles, whatever. Why can people force somebody to hold something in their body for 9 months without consent? This is bodily assault. And people who don't respect women's right to abortion probably have a problem or can't understand consent. Because if you don't recognize and uphold and defend women's right to use their body any way they want, you probably have a shaky understanding of consent. Because you can't deny consent in one place and have a strong moral high ground for another form of consent. And if you don't believe women have a right to abortion, to make their own choices, and give or not give consent, I don't think it's possible for you to understand sexual consent. No. If you deny women the dignity of choosing whether or not they want to remain pregnant, you in no way can you understand consent with sex. You cannot deny one consent and uphold another consent. That's not the way it works. And as long as these social concepts, religion, the patriarchy, male leaders, sexism, purity culture, gender double standards, gender roles, Christian morality, white supremacy, white privilege, save the kids, religious agendas, heteronormative lifestyle and marriage expectations, Christian marriage, having kids, homophobia, pro-life and anti-abortion, we won't get equality for people. And that's very sad. And it always surprises me because where people don't understand bodily autonomy and consent, you can't understand when it's used in a different way. It's impossible. If you have an issue with consent, you have an issue with privilege. And it's all about privilege. And if you don't treat mothers well, you have no business trying to protect the unborn. If you can't treat women who are pregnant with the dignity and the respect and autonomy they deserve, you wish nothing good on their kids. You cannot deny a woman autonomy while saying we need to respect the dignity of a child. You either respect the dignity of both or you respect nobody. So it's really sad how our country views women as basically a child who is supposed to give someone children. And we just need to get rid of the concepts of all of these. They're gross, and they enable people to commit crime and avoid accountability. You're setting people up to be victims or predators. And Christianity really is a white man's religion. I'm not saying that only white people are Christians. I'm saying that Christianity is a great tool to uphold the white man's agenda.